Gently. If there is any weight of mind, any heaviness that you might be feeling across the body, add word to the lightness of the air element. And through that lightness, let go. Affirm to this consciousness by connecting with the present moment breath, that the mind can exist within a state of lightness, calm and tranquility, and that it does not need to be busy all the time. We do not need to do, but we can simply be. Be with the breath. When the volition to do arises, note it. And just as the breath arises, processes, and passes away, the volition, the need to do, will similarly arise and pass away. Be with the breath. Be within the breath. Be with the breath. Gently, gently. Challenge your own boundaries of the lightness, the clarity, the openness of mind. When you think that you cannot relax, open your mind like the air element. See how you would surprise your own self by simply letting go. Come what may, simply observe and note without judgment, being in the present, being in the present. Being in the present. Gently, gently. Let us guide our attention to now using the breath as a foundation. To observe the whole lot of sensations arising as vibrations all across the body, some subtle, some gross. Simply, simply observe the breaths, the vibration, as the effects of the breath, the chest expanding and contracting, the sensations of the cloth touching against the chest, the abdomen expanding and contracting with the air element, the sensation. Observe, letting go, letting go, letting go. Observe the subtle sensations. All across the body. One after the other. Arising, passing away. Arising, passing away. Arising, passing away. Cling on to nothing. Just observe. 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 Gently. Gently. Guiding your attention all the way down to the tips of the toes, all the way down. And observe the sensations at the tips of the toes. Observe. 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 And as you do, relaxing, relaxing. And when you have observed Gently letting go and moving on to the feet. From the toes to the feet, observe the sensations arising and passing away, moment to moment, constant change. Nothing to cling on to. Nothing to attach yourself towards. Simply be in the present, and whatever arises, note and note. As you gently relax the feet, and as you relax the feet, the mind relaxing deeper through the power of letting go. The power of letting go, bringing about a deep sense of peace. As you reduce the things that you have to worry about and simply just be. Simply just be. Gently, gently. From the feet to the legs, observe the sensations all across the legs. Grow subtle, whatever or however the sensation might appear. Note arising, passing, gently, gently. Gently, relaxing the legs, and as you do, the mind relaxing deeper and deeper. And once the legs are relaxed, gently guiding your attention from the legs to the thighs, as you observe Observe the arising and passing of sensations all across the thighs, all across, clinging to nothing, simply observe the nature of this phenomenon, the nature of sensations. Observe, observe, observe. As you gently relax the thighs, relaxing each and every fiber of the thighs. Move upward from the thighs to the abdomen. Observe the different sensations, the different sensations. Look forward to no sensation. Just simply observe the present. Simply observe. Simply observe. Simply observe. Simply observe. being with the sensation, arising, possessing, passing away. Observe, observe. Gently letting go of all the sensations, relaxing the abdomen deeper and deeper as you gently, 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 gently guide your undivided attention swiftly but gently from the abdomen to the chest, from the abdomen to the chest. Observe, observe, observe. Observe. Gently, gently. From the chest, as you observe the sensations, guiding your attention, guiding your attention. As you relax the chest, all the muscles all across the chest. Swiftly but gently guide your attention to the shoulders. Relaxing the shoulder muscle, feeling a deep sense of lightness as you do relax the shoulders. Observe the sensations. Observe. Observe. Without any judgment, without any need of doing, just simply being within this moment. Here and now, being, being, being. As you gently, gently, gently observe the arising, the passing away in this very moment, all across the shoulder, all across the shoulder. from the shoulders as you relax and let go of the shoulders. Gently, gently guiding your attention to the arms, the forearm, the hands all the way down to the fingers, the tips of the fingers. Observe the many sensations that arise one after the other without any attachment whatsoever. Simply observe. Simply observe. Observe. As you let go, as you simply resort to being within the present, observe how light and beautiful the present mind becomes. The million struggles that we juggle, the 101 challenges, whilst they might not disappear from our lives entirely, what we do within the present becomes all the more clear. Vision arises with a deep sense of profound clarity. This is attributed to the skill that we cultivate what is a skill. Letting go. Allowing a phenomenon to arise with awareness. However, not thirsting behind the phenomenon, simply being in the moment with it. Gently, gently, gently. Relaxing the arms, the forearms, the hands, the fingers, through the shoulders, guiding your attention to the face. Relaxing the facial muscles. Relax. Relax. Observe the sensation. Observe. Gently, gently guiding your attention to go deeper into a state of calmness and stillness, almost like balancing yourself on a waterboard. When you stop worrying about falling over and just simply being in the present moment, aware, well aware of the motions of the water and the boat just as an extension of yourself, without the worry or the need to be perfect. You come to a position where you are able to balance yourself with much more success than when you're worrying over it. Simply, as you guide your attention from the face, the relaxed face, allow the mind to now brush over the head, the sensations all across, all across, gently taking a gentle but deep breath in slowly. Feel the vibrations all across the body, expanding, contracting as you breathe out. Relax. Observe how you observe and note. Gentle breath, deep breath in, Observe how you observe, breathing out. Deep breath in, expansion, sensations vibrating throughout the body. Relaxing. Deep breath in, breathing out, relax, observe, observe. Guide your attention now to the whole body. The body of matter. Observe the sensations arising, passing, arising, passing. No attachment, just note and observe. Note and observe. Note and observe. Gently, gently. Taking a gentle but deep breath in again. As you observe the expansion, the sensations vibrating throughout the body, cause the breath effect the sensation arising and passing impermanence. Observe, observe, observe. Observe. Gently taking another deep breath in, and when you are ready, breathing out, relaxing from the topmost part of the head to the tips of the toes. Relax, relax, becoming aware of your surroundings. Relax. Deep breath in, deeper than all the rest before. Hold on to the breath for a moment. Breathing out, relax, relax, relax. And when you are ready, gently opening your eyes and awakening into the present. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, everyone. So before we go for a break, a 5-minute break before the other session, I'm just going to explain to you what we will be doing on the basis of what we've already done in this session. Can you see my screen, everyone? Yes. So what we are essentially going to be doing is this. The first session was breathing meditation and sensations meditation, right? The second session is going to be sensations meditation, Vedana Vipassana, and the meditation on the Dhammas, right? Meditation on the Dhammas. So if you would just see the sensations that we observe, number 7, the sensations that we observe here, number 7. This is what we are observing in Vedana Vipassana, right? The sensations that we observe in Vedana, this one right here, feeling, it falls under, it is a passive process. If I might put it into a more simpler tense, it is a process, it is a phenomenon. It is not a life, if I might put it in that way. We make it a life, we give it life, we feed it life, the sensations. We pick up the sensation and we run with it, right? The picking up, right? The picking up. When a sensation arises, the picking up is this tanha right here, everyone. Craving, right? This is like a jolt of energy which connects the Vedana and you, the consciousness, right? Now, I have this example in my mind, which is also like, if you have a dog, right? You show the dog something and his face lightens up. Now, the next moment, what happens if the dog really wants it is, puts the tongue out, starts wagging the tail, starts getting quite excited to get whatever you're showing him, right? Now, that excitement, that connected or established connectedness with the object is upadana, right? It is like what I said, you pick something up and you're running with it now, right? That energy which makes you run with it is upadana, right? But what we are essentially trying to observe, or what we would try, or I would be guiding you to observe, is this. As you observe, Vedana arises. This is a passive process. This is a passive process. When the Vedana arises, as a result of that Vedana, or as a result of nature, if we might put it in that manner, arises a subtle craving, tanha, right? The tanha, whilst the Vedana is Vedananupassana, or awareness of the sensation is a meditation of sensations, the awareness over the tanha is the meditation of dhammas, right? How do you observe this? How do you observe this? When we observe, when we are sitting there and this sensation arises, your undivided attention is placed upon this sensation wherever the sensation might be across the body. When the sensation arises for almost lesser than a split second, it is almost as if the mind says something with regards to that sensation that has arisen. What is this? So the question is, what is the reaction to the Vedana? Do you understand? Do not assume, do not start the practice assuming you don't have a reaction. If you do that, of course, I mean, you're enlightened. What are you doing here? You better take over the class. Right? Do not start the practice assuming that you don't have a reaction. You do have a reaction, right? So the standpoint is, what's the reaction? Observe the reaction. Then when you note the tiny corner, you might first start with a little bit of the reaction. You might not feel the reaction completely. That is your Dhammanupassana. Do you understand? Hold on. I'm using the word holding on, but observe, note that reaction to the Vedana. So then the Vedana and the Dhamma, both of these by nature is impermanent. It arises and passes away. Both of these, the Dhammanupassana and the Vedananupassana object, is by nature impermanent. By nature, there's an attribute of suffering. Then what is suffering? The suffering is the energy which makes you work. Meaning, what I have now is not enough. Right? I'm not speaking about not having enough. I'm speaking about the energy that persuades a mind that it is not enough. Do you understand what I mean? You can, for example, you can take two positions. Let's say, for example, youth, aging, right? You are in a position where you assume that the youth that you have is not enough, meaning you're not young enough, for example. Let us say, put it in that manner. You're not young enough. So now what is suffering? Suffering is not in youth or in aging. It is the energy that would connect the two of these elements, which is not enough. Do you understand? That essence, I'm sharing my screen again, that essence is found now. All phenomenon of the world in samsara has impermanence. Look, ignorance arises and passes away into then formations. Formations become consciousness. Consciousness, name and form. Now you see impermanence, right? What is suffering? Suffering is this line here. Do you see? What connects ignorance and formations? What connects formations and consciousness? What connects consciousness and name and form? That is what allows for this genesis to continue and carry on. The suffering attribute. At the end of the Paticcasamuppada or dependent origination, when we have to, or when we are on the right path of now breaking this apart, the main object becomes suffering. That is what you see here. How did this suffering become apparent? Because of these lines here you see, which connected the 12 parts of the Paticcasamuppada. The essence of saying, the essence of mind, which deduces, which gives us a hint, madi, 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 or tava, sort of hinting at something else, something more, right? It doesn't even have to be more. Something, it's hinting at something. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Right? It can be something less. For example, the suffering to get away from suffering is also suffering. So suffering to get away from suffering. So you get that essence in the middle. Now there is suffering in my life and I want to get away from this suffering, right? That want itself is then that suffering attribute. It is what connects between the position now and the position that you want to get to, right? But that want essentially creates more suffering, or what that is what drives our life in a way. But realizing that is what we are trying to do, and that is when it becomes one of the main elements of then getting rid of the mass of suffering and going into enlightenment. Do you understand? So in the next meditation, which I have already gone too much across time, is what we observe is this, first of all, Vedananupassana. And when the Vedana arises, you must be very aware and attentive, everyone. When the Vedana arises, with the Vedana, now in the mind, you might, now when I'm telling you this technique, you might have this sort of constant question mark. No, let go of the question mark also. Be in the moment. It is not like you are in a tower watching over the ocean. It is the fact that you are the ocean. That standpoint is important. You can't be in the tower. You need to be in the ocean. Feel in the ocean. And what you are now sort of trying to observe is a more sort of deeper part, which is the Vedana arises. And when the Vedana arises, how does the mind work with it? How does the mind work with it? How do I carry the Vedana on? Do I carry the Vedana on, or am I trying to get away from that Vedana? Because it can be a multiple thing, right? If your legs are in pain, you don't want to be carrying that Vedana of pain. You want to get away from it. But that getting away is also tanha, right? Picking up that Vedana itself is tanha, right? If you want to run away from it, that's also tanha. That is what we observe. The Vedana is then a passive part. The Tanha, Upadana, that part is an active part. The Vedana is Vedananupassana. The Tanha is Dhammanupassana, directly related to the 5 aggregates of clinging. Directly related to the 5 aggregates of clinging. How? We have the 5 aggregates: Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. Materiality, Rupa, Vedana, sensations, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, perceptions, Sankhara, mental formations, and Vijnana, consciousness. It is when we take these 5 by Tanha, by the spirit of Tanha, me, myself, and I, this is me, right? We attribute the Vedana, this is me, this is the Vedana or the types of Vedanas I feel, right? We attribute it to our identity. That is where, now this is Dhammanupassana. That is the first part of that, or the main attribute of then deducing between the aggregate, and what makes it an aggregate of craving is number 8, tanha. Do you understand? Right? So you might fail, but keep on going. Do you understand? Right? Be relaxed through the session. Come what may, you will fail. Keep on at it. Try to reach a state of balance. Don't worry too much. Okay? All right. So I've taken a little bit too much time. Can I see you back at 10:15, if that is okay, after a break? Yeah, thank you. Gently coming into our meditating position to start our practice. Coming into our meditating position to start our practice. Taking a deep breath in, breathing out gently, relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. Having our eyes closed throughout the session, as we take a deep breath in, breathing out, relaxing, relaxing. Let us guide our attention to the whole body to observe the posture that we are in, where our hands are, the back, the feet, the legs, becoming fully aware as we put aside just for now everything in the outside world and simply come into this presence right here, right now, the present, the present, being very gentle, very gentle, very gentle. As you guide your attention to the topmost part of the head, whilst relaxing the whole body, simply observe the sensations all across the head, all across. All across. The sensations can be subtle, they can be gross. They might seem to endure for long, they might appear and disappear at a shorter pace. Regardless, they are simply sensations. Observe, observe, observe. Observe the sensations, noting the arising and passing. noting the arising and passing, being very gentle, relaxed, gently guiding your attention from the head to the face, to observe the different sensations all across the face, all across the face, all across the face. Observe closely to see the interaction between Vedana and the mind that clings. Observe, observe. We might be looking forward to the arising of the sensation, clinging and craving. We might have a subtle intuition for what kind of sensation might arise. Clinging and craving. Observe, observe, observe. Gently guiding your attention from the face through the neck, observing the sensations all across the neck, to the shoulder, to the shoulder, arising, passing, arising, observe. Gently, gently guiding your attention to the shoulders and all across the shoulders. Observing the sensations closely, closely. Gently guiding your attention to observe each and every fiber of skin and muscle all across the shoulder, sweeping through the shoulder as you observe the sensations without craving. But if craving rises, observe. 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 Gently, gently. From the shoulders, moving down to the arms, the forearms, the hands, the fingers. Observe, observe. Observe. gently guiding your attention through the shoulders to the chest. With every passing moment, your ability to be within the present increasing as you put aside the external world and devote this present moment towards the journey within, towards the journey within. Relax, relax. Observing the nature of craving. Every moment as a sensation appears, observe, finding balance, observe. From the chest, gently moving downwards to the abdomen, and observing the sensations all across the abdomen, all across the abdomen. Gently, gently from the abdomen, guiding your attention downward to the thighs. Observe the sensation and observe the variations of energy that arise as these sensations arise, as these sensations arise. Observe, observe. Gently moving downwards from the thighs to the legs, taking every moment as it appears and becomes, putting aside all doing and just simply being right here, right now. Just simply being. Observe, observe, observe. With every moment, being able to let go a little bit more, deeper, gently awakening to the reality of the beauty of this internal world that we have and how exciting is so many functions happening. So many insights to be sown. Observe, observe the sensations all across the legs. All across. All across. Gently from the legs, moving down to the feet, all the way down to the tips of the toes. Observe, observe, observe. Observe as you guide your attention, bringing it up from the tips of the toes, now extending through the whole body, mind and matter, mind and matter, a constant flow of interactions between the mind and the body, ensuring the continuity. Let us guide the mind into a position of sheer being. We do all the time. Let us now just be. Being aware in this moment, right here, right now. Being, being, being. Gently, gently. Taking a deep breath in, breathing out, relaxing, relaxing. Guiding your attention to observe the different sensations arising all across the body, one after the other. How the mind only becomes aware of one sensation at a time, but happens so fast that we assume that a lot of sensations are happening at the same time. The mind observe, observe, observe. Taking a deep breath in, breathing out, relax, relax, relax. A deep breath in again, filling up the whole body. Imagine breathing into the whole body, feeling lighter and lighter, energized by all the wholesome energy all around you, all throughout the world, sharing in the collective energy of all practitioners all across the world. As you breathe in and breathe out, breathing out any residue of negativity and toxicity. The mind, the body feeling lighter, calmer, at a state of tranquility. The body feeling healed and energized. Relax, relax. As you take another deep breath in, becoming aware of your surroundings, just as impermanence reigns within, there's impermanence reigning all across the world. Just as the hindrances reign within, the hindrances reign all across the world. Let us bring about a mind of awareness over the frailty of this body and mind, and the frailty of the world around, all a part of nature, arising, passing, reminding ourselves that it is beings like us who, with perseverance and determination, has in the past attained to states of Buddhahood, Pacceka Buddhahood, and have become enlightened, become peerless in mind, becoming a shining ray of light to all beings who too want to achieve a state of enlightenment. It is only natural and normal that we might at times stumble and fall. But the important thing is that we get back up, that we realize that it is very much a part of the human experience. That we will feel, but that itself is impermanent. Suffering, which is an innate part of our consciousness, owing to the hindrances. Would the suffering then guide us towards more suffering over our failures? Or will we use suffering to guide ourselves into positions of victory, positions of enlightenment? Taking a deep breath in, breathing out, relaxing deeper and deeper. Gently, gently. When you are ready, opening your eyes. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. right, everyone. So, this is the end of the morning session. If you are able to join in for the evening, you're most welcome to do so. And of course, I'm guessing that there are so many programs happening all across the world, in Sri Lanka, in the UK, I'm sure. So I think maybe you have something planned. But if you want to just stay a bit and sort of ask any questions that you might have or something like that, also, I'm very open to that. But if you would like to leave and you have other things planned, that is quite all right as well, right? So up to you, no offense will be taken at all, right? So let me, all right. So are there any questions with regards to the practice, with regards to what we discussed? Anyone? Oh, wait, I think, yes, you can unmute yourselves if you do have anything. Yes. Well, yes, Lakshman.
Bhante, I just want to clarify, when you said the craving, can it be that if you have a neutral feeling or if you have a you just dislike to something, is that also craving?
Okay. So, okay. Regardless of what the Vedana is, Tanha will arise, meaning craving will arise, regardless whether it is a pleasurable, um, 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 pleasurable, not so pleasurable, or neither pleasurable nor not pleasurable feeling, regardless, tanha arises, right? The question is then, how do I see this? Right? There is no doubt about the tanha arising, because it is through the arising of the tanha that we will attribute it to ourselves, right? That we will attribute to ourselves. So you being in this moment now, as we meditate and as we are in this moment, and you're telling yourself, okay, I'm not in the past, I'm not in the future, I'm in the present. There is an aspect of tanha in that as well. And we can't get away from it up until we really break apart the whole, up until we attain enlightenment. So how do we see it? We see it in a way as we continue. It is really through slowing down. It is really through slowing down. You must ensure that the mind, that it is able to take an object, and in taking the object, everything becomes slower. Everything, right? This slowness by intensity increases, right? Increases as the samadhi increases. When that happens, we are able to see, and even for some, without it sort of becoming slow, also they are able to see this sense of, if I am to use a Sinhala word, yomuvimak, right? What would be, it is like in English, if we might say, a sensitive peak of interest. A peak of interest, isn't it? Would that be accurate? yomu wima, right? A sensitive peaking of interest, right? You don't know exactly what it is, right, in its entirety. But are, sort of like, that appears in the mind during that moment. And when that appears, that is then an attribute of that craving. What happens at a position of samadhi, where, for example, the Buddha speaks about this sort of mind, where this sort of surprise is not there, is it becomes easier, because when the surprise is there, you're taken aback. You're taken aback. When the surprise is not there, when we are fully aware of this function now, the craving can be seen with far more clarity than ever before, right? Far more clarity, to an extent where you start feeling the craving aspect of it as well. Now, becoming a tool that you can essentially use to go into Dhammanupassana more, to realize, okay, the craving is there. How did this craving become activated at this moment? But that's a whole different part. Don't do that now. You can't. What you have to focus on now is simply whether it is Anapanasati, whether it is Vedananupasana, Kayagata Sati, whatever sati that you're doing, right? Are you able to truly be one with that meditation? Right? Truly be one. First of all, putting aside the external world, coming into the present. Are you able to be present? The balance. All these aspects become facets that leads to success in being able to reach these deeper states of insight. Right? Now, something that can often happen is when we are trying to observe something which is small, lethargy will come about. Nidimata. It will happen, right? And there are instances, if it will happen, where sort of, why we know that it is because of the imbalance, right? What do you have to do? You have to then keep on trying to reach a state of balance, right? Where you will be able to observe, but here not in a push. Where the nidimata, where the sleepiness comes in, is where you're pushing it. You're pushing the mind. If this is the object, you're pushing the mind towards the object. You can't reach the object, so you fall into sleep, right? You're pushing the mind and you're falling off the edge. That is sleep, right? What happens, or the position to be, is this is the object and this is the mind. We float about, right? Slowly, with balance, we realize that both of these can come into a sense of harmony, where now both of these vibrate at a particular frequency. When it does so, you don't need to advert the mind towards the object. The mind is aware. That is why that Chittanupassana diagram is so good, from Sheu Minseado, with the sort of the open crocodile mouth and the dot. It's so good because it really speaks, because we think this, the object, and we apply that. Actually, no. This does not happen. If this happens, you're pushing it. What we do is essentially we direct the mind. We don't apply the mind. If we apply the mind, we will only be able to see this. But the thing is, if this is a sensation, let's say this is a somanasa, a pleasurable sensation. At level 1, for example, if we are to put it into a x and y axis, at level 1.2, there is another somanasa which is higher than this. But because the mind is applied to level 1, we will only be able to stick with level 1. Do you understand? So what do? We only direct the mind in that direction. That's it. And when the vibration increases, when the mind increases in its strength in samadhi, this also changes. The object itself matures. Or we are able to tap into higher frequency of that object. That is how we don't fall asleep. Right? And that example of being on a waterboard is perfect because it is actually what needs to happen. That sense of newness slowly, because even with samadhi, we started experiencing samadhi in short spans before we went into samadhi, isn't it?
Mm.
What happened with that is we became kind of like used to samadhi, isn't it? Because like we saw little bits and parts of samadhi, and we slowly got used to samadhi. That's the same thing which has to happen in this position, right? We get used to, or we become familiar in vibrating in this frequency, which enables a person to see the impermanence, the suffering, and of course the non-self, which exists at this higher level of insight. Yeah. So basically, as we go on, opening doors, what we simply need to do is connect, right? Is connect. Because you being in the lighthouse, yes, you have a good view of the ocean, but you have no clue what is under that water because you can't see beyond. That is essentially what happens. So tanha will be there. Yeah. And suffering being there, whilst impermanence, suffering is far more of a powerful tool, right? Powerful tool. The impermanence deal with change, the change of nature, mind and body all around. But the suffering aspect, that's impermanent. The suffering aspect is about this energy which keeps on going. And suffering is important. Suffering, even if we take sort of the evolution of the world, suffering is pivotal for the development of the world. If we all lived forever, the world would not cultivate and develop. So death is important in that aspect so that we die off and better people with better knowledge and all of that would arise in the future, taking the data that is in our blood and our genetic systems. That is pivotal, vital for the continuation of the world, right? In sort of completely embracing in a niche, if we take this mind and body, in embracing that aspect, we will, like the world progresses through death of the old, in the same way, we too, as a single being, would progress in realizing that nature within us as well. To be able to come into a situation where we are comfortable now with that reality is now that work of vibration. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lakshmi. Anyone else? Irangani?
Tevon Saranai Bhante. You said that in Paticcasamuppada that all those tanha, vedana, that connection is the energy that link each step is suffering. Can you please explain a bit more, please?
Yes. So when it comes to the observation that we do from part to part with regards to all these things, that we sort of see, right? I'm just trying to sort of get that we sort of see in the 12 aspects of the Paticcasamuppada, we find again, now if we take the mental and the physical jivita indriya, right? The mental and the physical jivita indriya. The mental and the physical jivita indriya has as a nature is its ability to prolong and to keep on supporting the continuation of mind and the body, right? Jivitindriya. In the same manner as Jivitindriya does, the mind and the body is, by spirit of that process, along a path of continuation. This continuation itself is supported by suffering, by an energy every moment. Now, an interesting, every moment, with every aspect of our life, even if I am to sort of shift my posture, even without knowing, it has a relation to, of course, impermanence, but we are not talking about that, suffering, right? Suffering. This continuation along avidya, ignorance, and all of these processes, when we view it from a practitioner's perspective, when we view it, we can see suffering, impermanence, and non-self in each and every part of the Paticcasamuppada cycle. Without the inference of these three characteristics, the cycle will not be able to continue. Continuation is dependent upon specifically suffering, because suffering is that. Now, if we are going to leave our homes to travel somewhere, we are going to do so to leave a position to reach another position to get whatever done or to do whatever. That need, that energy which is to say, I have something to do, or ගෙදර ඉඳලා වැඩක් නැහැ, දැන් එළියට යන්න ඕන, that energy, it is not just that thought, but that energy supporting that thought to arise itself is suffering. That energy is what makes the world go round, right? Thus connecting a yatharthya, that reality we come to see deeper and deeper, from the basic stages of anapana to the vipassana jnana, and we now take that suffering to now form what the Buddha said, dukkata upanishre shraddha, right? Dukkata upanishre shraddha. I can't find that chant, hold on. Let me see. Dukkata upanishre shraddha. Dukkata upanishre, so after suffering arises shraddha. Shraddha towards what? Shraddha, you might, of course, traditionally we would say Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. But remember, Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha are three aspects of the same thing, the practice, right? The practice. The faith that we have then arises towards the practice. What is the practice? The compilation of the Dhamma. The Dhamma is what? What we then see, not theory. At this position, you're not focused upon theory. You're focused upon what you pratyakshava dannade. ඒ දෙයට තමයි ශ්‍රද්ධාව ඇති වෙන්නේ. For example, if we practice a sense of morality and you feel a sense of good energy by the spirit of that practice, now the Shraddha would improve based upon that experience, not based upon what the Buddha says. Right? It has to be experienced by oneself in some way or the other. In certain situations, what has happened is this. the Buddha speaks about this giant mass because of, him being as great as he is, right? This giant mass. We being the puny creatures we are, in our practice, we see this tiny sort of thing with regards to the Dhamma. This tiny thing is a big thing for us. But the fact that we are seeing this thing connects to the big mass of the Buddha. That can also arouse a sense of Shraddha. But if that Shraddha is sort of on the grounds of the glorified massiveness, mema benna ati, then we don't get too far. It has to truly be on the essence of the experience. For example, morality is that which comes about because of the trihetuka chitta, a three consciousness powered and empowered by non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion, right? Because of these three, we have a chitta which is wholesome. The intensity of this chitta depends on what we do. It is these three that will also go into that huge mass. Now you make that connection. It is on that wisdom that this puny little insight that we might have, I'm just using that word to sort of say the insight that we might have and Buddha's insight, connects to the Buddha's insight. That is what must be done, not the glorified blind sort of thing. Okay, he must be great kind of thing, right? On the nature. So that is where in the Paticcasamuppada cycle, on the relation that we build over the connections that happen, how this sort of process is taken about, right? Because why doesn't it stop at salayatana? Why doesn't it stop at tanha? Why doesn't it stop at upadana? It keeps on going, bhava, and then again avidya, tanha, asesa, viraga, nirodho, sankha. All of that keeps on going. What makes the wheel go round? Suffering, right? The position, that energy which convinces you that the position that you are in is not enough, right? Can be for a million reasons, a million different emotions. Whatever it is, convinces you, madi, power, that energy which gives you that sort of little push. That is how then suffering is taken at the end through realization as a main object to transcend the Paticcasamuppada into the path of Nirvanagami Patipada. The bridge becomes suffering itself. I hope that is clear. Man.
Can I ask one more question, Bante?
Yes, sure, of course. So just before you do,
Yeah.
I just found the chart. So here, right, the 12 parts of the Paticcasamuppada, right, all which from the first Vipassana jnana, everyone, to up until a situation's sankhara upekka. Up until sankhara upekka, what we do is we develop and cultivate a certain aspect or a knowledge of suffering, predominantly suffering. Now, for those of you who participate in the class on Sundays, we've been going through, and we are actually right now in we've just finished Sankhara Upekka. We realize the reality of Nama and Rupa, that was the prime focus of the Vipassana Jnanas, was all based upon a reality which is inferred by impermanence, suffering and non-self. ඒ තුනම තමයි විදර්ශනා ඥානේ තව තව ප්‍රකට වෙන්නේ. Right? Out of that fact, although it is impermanent, suffering, non-self, all three which becomes more and more clearer through the first Vipassana Jnana up until Sankharupekka, because after Sankharupekka you will attain, right? So I'm taking only up until Sankharupekka, but the realization of the Trilakshana, impermanent, suffering and non-self continues even after Sankharupekka up until the end, of course. But after Sankharupekka, they say that you will attain, right? So up until that, it is suffering which actually pushes the Vidarshana Jnanas too. Right? That is why even the struggle, everyone, even the struggle to attain Nirvana is a part of Dukkha Khandha. Right? May up until we attain enlightenment, full enlightenment and pass, we will never be free of that suffering. That is why Vesak is celebrated, isn't it? As a part of the Buddha's demise, because the Buddha finally achieved the state that he truly wanted, which is the end of all suffering. The Buddha himself, through having a body, was affected by impermanent suffering and non-self. The non-self part he realized. However, the suffering was something that he had to undergo. With his motions of the bubbles, remember what Devadatta did, how many things did he suffer through? Even the fact of course, walking thousands and thousands of miles across India to teach. I mean, do you think it was a pleasant journey? You know, not all the time, right? So that is what is then taken as suffering here. When this suffering, all sort of through the Vipassana Jnanas, what is made clear is that sense of suffering. Impermanence, because of impermanent suffering, because of anatma suffering, because of suffering. Right? Because sometimes we try to get away from suffering. The need, the requirement, the push to get away from suffering too is fueled by suffering. That is how it becomes a predominant bridge here to jump over from the Patisampada to the transcending Patisampada. Is that clear, everyone? To a certain extent, at least. Yeah. So here, for example, even if we Abhidhamma students, if we take this part, right? Where is this? Okay. The feelings, we know, Vedana is fueled, right? The present effects. Present effects are results of karma. So, from vijnana, mind and matter, 6 senses, contact, feelings are all results of that past karma that we have done. Right? For example, with the energy of the Patisandhi, which creates the karmaja, the 9 types of karmaja rupas, which creates all of these sort of, the faculties, maintains the faculties, the energy of the jivita indriyas, which we did yesterday with at the class, right? All of this, the ahetukas, all of that is what fuels this. All results of past karma, results, right, of past karma, hence present effects, meaning passive. We can't stop this. Living is being a beacon of past karma. You live Vindavanama, right? How, right? The part that we can't control everyone is consciousness will arise. Based upon consciousness, mind and matter will arise. Based upon that, the six senses will be. Based upon the six senses, contact will happen. Based upon contact, feelings will happen. We can't stop the process. But what we can do, because this is passive, but what we can do is this part here. The active part, the present causes, me mote, at this moment, what can I do? What can I do? That is how craving attachment is formed. Yonsu mansikara, ayonsu mansikara, how do I work with the object? All of that is categorized in the present. That is why awareness becomes or is so important, right? Because the passive you can't control. Contact will happen, but what you can control is the present cause. Me mote mam mokadda karanne? What am I doing at this very moment? That is something that you can draw some sort of inspiration from the teachings to then effect. Yeah. Yes. So Irangani, what is your next question?
I think Bante, you answered my question. That's what exactly I wanted to ask. To stop the wheel, what can we do at current moment? I think you nicely explained. Be aware of craving and stop it becoming upadana. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, better. I mean, easier said than done.
I
right?
know.
Easier said than done. But if we are at least aware of this, right? Even, I mean, just imagine, even if you don't meditate all the time, and even if you're simply aware of the fact that, for example, the dog is excited about whatever that you're wagging in front, and his sort of face sort of brightens up, and then he starts wagging the tail. I mean, we do this all the time, right? Even the mere fact of sort of realizing how we take an object and run behind the object, that on its own as a piece of information itself gives us such a power to understand the system, right? But in meditation practice, of course, what we should aim to achieve is a position where we would then be able to come into true, definite realization about how deeply rooted and addicted we are to the process of suffering.
Yeah.
Addicted to suffering. Yeah. So any other questions? All right. So no more questions. No more questions. Okay. So maybe then everyone is hungry then. So I will see you all in the evening, and enjoy the rest of the programs. I'm sure that is happening as well. So take care, everyone, and Teron Sannai. Hope this session was fruitful for everyone. Teron Sannai.
Yes, of course it was.